Hey everybody, Mike Barr here. Just wanted to take a minute and give a little update. Uh, as I was looking at Facebook this morning, I noticed that we've had another fatality. Um, uh, this one happened out in California, and I think it's only been about 7 days since our latest SIF or serious injury and fatality. So yeah, it just keeps rolling along, and uh, the reason why I'm doing these little videos here is I'm just trying to get some conversation going. I want to get people talking, and as I've said on some of my other videos, I don't know if anybody's going to see this or if it's going to do any good or not. But damn it, we've got to start talking about this stuff. And one of the things I think about a lot, and I've got a little PowerPoint up here I've given to other people, and I've modified it a bit today. But one of the things that has always bothered me a bit is we got all this stuff going on, and we got a lot of qualified people out there. We got some of the best in the best workforce of anybody, any trade. But one of the things where I think we're really falling down on is the stop work programs. Everybody has one, and everybody says, every company out there says, yeah, we have stop work programs, and we give everybody stop work authority. And I want to talk about that a little bit. It's not just the fact that you have authority, you have a responsibility. And I think that I just don't think it's as effective as, of course, it should be, and it could be. So, a while ago, I ran across a study that was done by a company out in Texas. And this company out in Texas went out, and they're a consulting firm. They went out and they talked to a lot of folks, 2,600 workers, it says. And everybody they talked to basically told this consulting firm that they had a stop work program. And of all the people that they surveyed, only about approximately 60% said that faced with a situation where stop work would be beneficial, they wouldn't say anything. 60%. Think about that. If you got 10 guys working out there, 6 of them say they say flat out that they wouldn't say anything. They would not do that. I would hope in our industry it's not that bad, and I don't believe that it is. But there is stuff going on out there where I believe that people are staying quiet when they see things, and there's a lot of reasons for that, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So, but this is what I'm talking about. These are the kind of examples I'm seeing and watching and hearing about. How do you have a guy go up in a bucket without his harness on, with 3 other people on the ground, 3 journey level workers standing on the ground, and you got a guy up in a bucket without a harness, and the apparently the leveling system on the truck failed, and this bucket tipped and dumped this guy out. And and you got people standing there watching him. So why is that? If we've got stop work authority and everybody on that crew knows that nobody should be up in that bucket without their fall protection on, but yet they watch it happen. And again, there's a lot of reasons why this happens, and why people are comfortable or uncomfortable, not saying anything. So that's what I want to talk about. How do we have people that will stand by and watch someone reach into a high voltage enclosure without testing, without grounding, without gloves, without any of the safety protocols that we have and that they've been taught. They've got the PPE, they got the tester, they got the grounds, but yet, people stand by and watch this happen because they believed it to be de-energized, but yet they just stood there and watched it happen, knowing that rules were being violated. So we see this over and over again. And again, as I've said in some of my other videos, I know we're doing better. We're saving more lives than we used to. But again, I strongly believe that 0 is the only acceptable number when it comes to SIF, serious injuries and fatalities. We've got to do better. And that's what I want to talk about today a little bit is why these things happen. I would encourage us all to really look at our stop work programs and try to determine how effective they are, and start talking to your folks about whether or not they feel like they're trained properly and that they truly believe that they have the authority to stop. So anyway, so why does this stuff happen? Well, it's simple. Either an unsafe act or of course, unsafe conditions. And either one of those, whether it's an unsafe act or unsafe conditions, these are things that can be detected and can be observed. So it's not that these things are hidden. We've been told that 80 to 90% of all accidents occur because of the unsafe condition of an individual or individuals. I believe it's much higher than that. I think it's 100%. 100% of all accidents are the result of either the action or inaction of some individual somewhere, sometime. And maybe in another video, I'll get into that in more detail. But and if that's the case, even if it were 80 to 90%, I believe it's higher than that, because I believe that the individual that experiences the accident isn't always the one that caused it, but somewhere, sometime, there was an act or a failure to act by an individual somewhere at some time that created those circumstances. And I truly believe that. So there's some common beliefs out there that I think are prevalent throughout our industry. And I hear this all the time. Mike, most of these injuries are just the fault of the individual. And to an extent, yes. But keep in mind, the culture drives everything we do. And if we've got a culture that allows people to violate MAD, to get in situations where they're working at elevation without fall protection, and people not wearing their gloves and sleeves when they need to, not grounding properly, it's the culture that allows folks to do that. Another myth out there that I hear about frequently is, Mike, accidents are just going to happen. No, they're caused by factors that we can identify and we can correct. It just doesn't happen. We can correct this. I hear often too that if we just comply with OSHA, we're safe, and I believe that is true to an extent. There are things, of course, that we need to go above OSHA. And we see that frequently. We see things like cradle to cradle, lock to lock rules, things like that, where we've gone above what OSHA requires of us. However, I think sometimes we have to be careful about that, going beyond OSHA. We do that a lot of times because we can't get people to follow the OSHA rule. And if the OSHA rule itself was followed, then we probably wouldn't need more stringent requirements. So sometimes I think that we use that as a crutch. Let's expand on this rule. Let's make it more stringent, rather than trying to figure out why the hell people aren't following the rule to begin with. So yes, OSHA is just the start. It's the start of the process, and sometimes we need to go beyond that. OSHA doesn't deal with the human element, behavior. Small improvements get us better over time. Well, the only, again, acceptable goal as far as I'm concerned when it comes to SIF is 0. We have to accept that as our baseline. We can't go, we can't accept or have a goal to only have 2 SIFs a year. That needs to be 0. We haven't had an injury in a year, so we must be good. We're dialed in. We're doing everything correct. Not necessarily. That's a trap. That's something that not unless everything's working, not unless everything's perfect. We've just been getting lucky. If we discipline more people, we'd be safer, guys. Discipline isn't the answer. If our program is being followed, if we've got the procedures and the rules in place that we need, and they're being enforced and complied with, we'd never have to discipline everybody. Discipline's not going to drive compliance. We have to have a disciplinary program, but it needs to be used sparingly and fairly, and we shouldn't have to use that a lot. Discipline is going to drive minimum compliance. So you got to be careful with that program, and gosh, it needs to be dialed in, because you can lose folks real quick if you've got selective discipline. You can start losing confidence with your crew and between them and their supervisors, and loyalty. Man, it takes a long time to build that. And I've seen disciplinary programs just drive a wedge between management and the company if it's not done properly. So anyway, yeah, so we got to have discipline, but you got to be careful about how you use it. More training will cut injuries. I hear this all the time, and I've seen it over and over and over again. You'll be with a company and we'll have a grounding incident. So we go out, we have a stand down, we go out and we train everybody in grounding, and then we have another incident and we train on this and we train on that. We use training as a crutch sometimes, again, just like we do other things. We just fall back on that because we don't know how to fix things properly. It's got to be a training issue, and that's not always the case. Only if it's a lack of knowledge is more training required. Sometimes that's not the issue, but we do use that as a go-to sometimes when we have things occur. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about this stop work and why people won't speak up. In order to get to this 0 injury workplace or 0 SIF workplace, we've got to have supervisors and the crew members who have the courage, because that's what it takes. You got to be fearless, and you got to have the courage to stand up and say, stop, something's not right. When the other day we were talking about the incident down in Florida where the guy put his boom up into a line, and when you look at the pictures and you see how that truck was positioned, it just looks to me like that guy got in that seat and he just raised that boom right up into the line. Who was around when that happened? Why did nobody stop him and say, whoa, wait a minute. Now, I don't know where everybody else was positioned in relation to what was going on there, but it just seems to me, again, when we start putting booms into line, that maybe we're not paying as good attention as we should. So, but we got to have the courage to step up. And some of the reasons people don't is that a lot of times workers may not perceive that as being hazardous, um, or some action that someone's taking as unsafe because they've seen it so many times, and we've minimized these situations because we allow, and we've seen, and supervision allows people to possibly take these shortcuts, and so the hazard that even though somebody sees it, they don't perceive that as it's below what I call the actionable level. So that's part of the situation. And employees may think that given the situation and the exposure, it just doesn't warrant intervention. And again, this is sometimes the problem when the work it takes priority over safety, and we're looking at a task that takes a minimal amount of time, and the exposure is very limited. Yeah, maybe we're taking a shortcut here, but gosh, it's a really short task. It's only going to take a second, and the exposure is very, very short. Um, and The people that are doing it are experienced. So we look at all those factors, and we don't nobody says anything. And another thing that I think is common is that employees may not want to alienate a person by calling him or her out on it. They just, it's uncomfortable sometimes, and so people don't speak up. And of course, peer pressure is involved. I'm telling you, when I came up and as an apprentice, and it was a scary thing to even think about telling your foreman that maybe we ought to be looking at doing something different. You just did what you were told, and things are getting better. We're getting better at that, but. Again, we see people do it over and over again, and the one thing about our industry is a lot of shortcuts are taken with no negative consequence, and so we just continue that behavior. And again, like I said, the shortcut that's being taken. You've got this guy standing on the ground, and he's seen somebody do something. He's much more experienced than you are. And he's been doing it a hell of a lot longer than you have. So maybe it's just too intimidating to say something. And I think another big factor is that some people may feel that they're misrepresenting the situation. Maybe I really don't know, and that they're afraid of being ridiculed, so people get very, very timid, and so we have to consider all that, and I'm truly amazed that we have the things that happen. And again, guys, it's only been 7 days since the last SIF, and so that clock's going to start ticking again. And rarely does that that clock, if you will, that keeps ticking. We rarely get into double digits. It just doesn't happen that often before we have another one. And you can't convince me that had people stepped up and properly used their stop work authority, some of this can't be stopped. So this is just one of the things that I think we need to tighten up a bit, and I'd really encourage people to look at that aspect of their business. And again, I just feel like we need to get this conversation going, and just work harder than we are, because something's got to change. Too many people are losing their lives. Too many young folks are not going home. Every one of these I see are young people, young families. young children, and it's just got to stop. So, and just remember, guys, that no matter what situation you get in, you are the last one to have the hands on it. You're the last one to have that train of thought go through your mind and through your brain on what got you there, what you're about to do, and what the potential outcome is. It's you. It's each one of us. And so, yeah, let's do better. Be careful out there. Watch out for one another. Keep an eye out, not just for yourself. You're number one. You're to me the most important person on that job, but you got to watch out for your brothers and sisters too. So be careful out there, and we'll talk again. Thanks.